Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here in my office studio in beautiful Elmsford today, and welcome to AVX Live. I'm Joe Gilderson, President of Corporate Audio Visual Services and Visual Word Systems in New York City. And I got to tell you, I'm excited for today. I'm going to get to talk to someone who I believe has a lot of great ideas, and someone who, I think I have a lot in common with, and a lot of the same habits and goals. So we're looking forward to it. We're going to have some fun. Listen, I thought we were going to have my partner in crime, Ryan Finch, today, but fortunately, he's on a paid gig. So we're very happy about that. He's going to be a technical director in an enhanced Zoom, is what we call it, with a group based out of Miami, Florida. So they got a little rehearsal they got to do today for their event tomorrow. But so I guess you're just stuck with me and our guest, which is the better highlight, I think, of the two. But, just a little reminder, like why we're doing this, right? Because we're just getting started. But really, our team always focuses on every conversation with the terms experience and success and results. And so these three words are really at the very heart of our thought process when we're planning any event. And it doesn't matter if it's virtual or in person or hybrid. Either way, these things are most important to us. Our expectation is really that AV and technology are helping people reach these three goals. We expect AV to help people create positive experiences, to help them be successful in reaching their objectives. And we already know it's going to provide them some sort of measurable results. So that's kind of why we're doing this. And so in the whole series, we're going to be connecting with professionals across all industries, not just our work, but across all industries, and learn how technology impacts their day-to-day lives. And then our hope is to bring some of these ideas and best practices to our community so that people can keep learning and growing in both their professional lives and their personal lives. You got to keep growing. I mean, I know for me that really is a driver in my life. It's like Tony Robbins says, growth equals happiness. And so we want to keep everybody happy. But look, we're in episode 3, and we have a lot more to come. So make sure to go to Corporate AV, like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, and of course, subscribe on YouTube. I mean, we want to keep you guys coming back. We're going to be on every Wednesday, 1 o'clock, and this is just fun stuff. But listen, let's get into our guest, okay? Because this is great. Because our guest is an industry partner, but with a twist. And that's really the funny part. We're going to highlight the twist. So let's bring our guy in here, and we want to say hi to Cameron Toth. But let me tell you about Cameron. Say hello to everybody, please. You're an international superstar. Say hi.
What's going on, Joe? Thanks for having me.
Listen, don't mind. I'm going to brag about you for just a second and tell everybody, who we got here, because I think they need to know you. This is Cameron Toth. He's CEO of Toth Event Staffing and the host and founder of Biz Dev Live. So I know Cameron from Toth Event Staffing, which he started in 2011, which is a hospitality company really focused on providing staff to caterers and cafeterias and catering departments in Westchester and New York City. But the twist is that Cameron started Biz Dev Live in 2020. So Biz Dev Live takes Cameron's entrepreneurship experience and combines it with his passion for helping young people and business-minded professionals. I think it's so cool that his mission is actually to increase access to education and opportunity for all people. I mean, that sounds, it sounds perfect. So I think it's great. Just a little more, Cameron. I don't want to embarrass you. I know you got the pink tie. I don't want to make it too pink to match it, but Cameron serves on the board of soundbusiness.org. He's been involved with the organization since 1996, and they really focus on providing college and career guidance, as well as programs, of course, but for high school students. So the idea of promoting good choices and education through peer-to-peer engagement speaks to me because I have a 17-year-old in high school. I can't get him engaged in anything right now. So I might have to ask you some private tutoring later on. But and then just one last piece. I mean, there's just so many places that you can watch Cameron right now. I mean, he's everywhere. You know, you can see Biz Dev live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. He's broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And if you didn't miss, you didn't catch him there, you can join his facilitated networking events on Tuesdays, Networking by Biz Dev Live. Or you can join his master networks, Mount Pleasant chapter, where he's the chapter president. I mean, you're going right to the top, so why not? And if none of those things work, then you can watch him on his Master Connection series with Steve Spiro, Fridays at 2 p.m. on LinkedIn Live. I mean, I told you he was everywhere. But please, Cameron, it's really great to have you on here today. Thanks for joining us.
Joe, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. And yes, I'm doing a lot of events, and they're all online. So using a lot of tech, and definitely gotten a lot more into your world than I've been in the previous 10 years before 2020.
So all those years you saw us at events, you didn't know what the hell we were doing, but now you're in the events, like you're running them, man.
Well, so I've had the conference experience. I've been on the logistics side of putting together companies. I worked with Talent AV for years, with so the Signomics group. So I have some idea, and we partnered with corporate AV for a lot of years with MPI, and I've been a loyal, loving member of MPI, and really been so grateful for your participation and all of the support in the industry. I think one of the things that corporate AV really does to differentiate itself is you really do give back and you really do support the industry. So from I know I can speak for MPI Westfield, and I can speak for a lot of MPI, and I can definitely speak from my own heart. Thank you for all that you do, Mr. Joe Gilderson.
Well, look, we're happy to be involved. I mean, community has been a big part of our lives, and we've been preaching that for years as well. So that's why I say it's nice having like-minded individuals with us. So I did happen to notice that this morning you had episode 199, and so that to me means that there's an episode 200 coming.
Yes,
yes, that's tomorrow at 11.
That is correct. Yeah, we have an amazing guest who's actually in the event industry tomorrow and Friday. So for all the events folks, we have amazing guests. A lot of those guests are in the events industry because that's my background. And then we have business professionals, entrepreneurs that aren't necessarily events related. The whole idea of Toth Event Staffing, and I'll sort of get into why I pivoted from Toth Event Staffing to Biz Dev Live and not the Toth Event Staffing hospitality channel, folding napkins, doing table design. I love providing opportunity and education to people. It stems from my own educational journey of making so many mistakes along the road. And so I am really just trying to go back and help 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old me who really didn't make some great life choices. So I ended up not graduating high school. I had a child at the age of 19. I got my GED eventually, and I was told college was important. But at that point, I was already a young single father. I followed the girl in the red leather pants around to choose my college instead of looking at the educational resources and the financial resources that I could actually use to pay for that. I was looking at some other assets, so to speak, right? So that's how I made, my judgment call at 19 years old. And so I am really, for everybody that I'm talking to, whether it's a young person and especially young people, because that's, it connects to my life story, but also as an entrepreneur in 2011, I started Toth Event Staffing, helping people not make the same mistakes I made. When I started, my company in 2011, it was a DBA, it was connected to my social security number. I didn't separate it out. And so wisdom is built over time and taking a lot of lumps. So trying to pass that on to people and connect right now to 20 years from now. Certainly if I was doing that as a young man, I would have made some different life choices. And if I would have done that really looking and seeking out mentorship and seeking all the ways to avoid pain when I was starting Toth Event Staffing, I didn't have my network. People talk about, oh, you are who you surround yourself with. And so I just wasn't mature enough to make sure that I was going out and giving myself even permission to reach out to people and say, because at that point I knew Joe Gilderson, right? I could have reached out to Joe and say, hey, can we sit down for a lunch? And can you I'm starting my company. Can you recommend who I need to speak with and what are things that I should do? I wasn't having those type of conversations. I was just a knucklehead trying to figure it all out. So here I am in 2020, and I have a little extra time on my hands because live events are basically illegal. And my whole business, although I had a great mix of clients, I had corporate, I'm working with all the Compass Group accounts. So Urest and Flick and Chartwells. On the private home side, I'm working with all the fancy homes in Greenwich and Scarsdale. I'm diversified, right?
Yeah.
Well, without live events, there's no real diversification. That was the total premise of my business. So I had a little bit of extra time, but because I learned some things along the way, the structure of the business was the S Corp. So the PPP, the Payment Protection Act, actually applied to me. Because I'm technically not self-employed. I pay myself through my corporation. And so I could pay myself. So I did. I had some extra time, challenging circumstances. I did a lot of things to make sure that I was connecting with staff, struggling with that, trying to keep them involved as we were going through it. As I was figuring things out, though, and saying, all right, well, I have this moment to pivot, my thought process was, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to fold napkins? And, because I understood the value of social media. I really hadn't applied to myself. Now I have some extra time. What do I want to do? My happy place over the last 9-10 years has been sitting across from a waiter, a bartender, a chef, a kitchen assistant. And when we get into the conversation around career, now I enjoy training. I have a passion around hospitality. I enjoy it. I like showing people what to do. I'm all about empathy, showing respect, making sure that we're treating the client very good and that we are treating our coworkers at least as good as the clients, if not better. That kind of respect, so that we build an organization that's really treating each other in a magnificent way, where that happiness and that respect and that empathy shows through, and the clients love us because we roll with the punches. We make sure to deliver the goods no matter where we go. And I've done a great job on the staffing side because, a staff member will come up in a wife beater kind of t-shirt, and one of the other waiters will run up and say, hey, we don't do that here. And I've never said that, right? I talked about what we do, what we provide, and how we show up, and how we come and show that we're professional. I never said you can't wear a wife beater, but people understand and look out for me. I can't be out on all the event sites, so they look at it. So that's the training piece of it. And I'm good with that. But when it came to, all right, I want to do something that, I'm going to be excited about getting up in the morning, it was about providing education and opportunity. So I didn't start up the Toth Event Staffing Hospitality channel. I started up Biz Dev Live, which is all about showing and giving opportunity and education through this channel, through interviews, through me talking into the camera, talking into the abyss, and giving advice. And then since then, we've added some other aspects, a networking program, networking by Biz Dev Live on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, and the Master Connection series. And then I'm staying involved with MPI, and I have a professional networking organization that I'm involved with, Master Networks, and got talking to being the president this year, which I didn't need another thing, but I really like the idea of telling each other stories, and Master Networks kind of gave a lot of that to me for the networking. So it's all about giving back, right, Joe?
Yeah, no, I think it's smart that you found your passion and your direction, and I think that direction is probably steering a lot of what you're doing right now. And I know we needed that kind of direction too, when we found ourselves last February and March with, scratching our heads going, what are we going to do? And fortunately for us, one of our staff was really the driver behind the direction. And, we had a little bit of a piece that was aired on CBS News in the morning with Tony DeCopel, and one of our our technicians, who I know one of our engineers, because he's been around forever. Maurice is like our most loved person. He's requested all the time by everybody. He's been to dozens of MPI events, so I'm sure you know. And he was on the show, and he said, he was asked the question, well, are you upset about being laid off? How do you feel at this point? He said, look, we have to save the ship. Otherwise, there's no place for us to go. I have no place to go after that. If we don't save the ship, what are we going to do? And so that became kind of our mantra. Like, okay, we have a very clear focus now. We got to get our team back. So what are we going to do? We can't just sit here, And so what you're talking about, how you found your direction, that became our driver, and how we made that. I hate to use the term, but pivot so quickly. Really 3 days after we had a terrible day for us here, in the sense that we had to make some staff reductions very quickly, and
cancellations rolling in and all that. Yeah, absolutely.
There was hundreds of them. I mean, so when everybody sees you removing everything from your workload, they go, uh-oh. Like everybody knows what's going on. It's so bizarre though at that time that we moved fairly quickly. That was our intention. But just like you said, having a thought process and having like one passion drive you has become a pretty important thing. So good things. It's a great start. I mean, I guess the question is, since you made that transition from event staffing, how'd you come up with the name Biz Dev Live? I mean, let's start there. So, it's super cool, man.
For everybody that is familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Gary V, as he's popularly known, he says Biz Dev a lot, and it stands for business development. And I was thinking around basically something that sounds cool. And I really respect what Gary Vaynerchuk does through his social media presence, through getting on and doing live advice. And actually during that time, I was probably listening to that kind of stuff more than ever before, because I'm trying to figure things out. And he's really good with the entrepreneurship piece. He's really good with the empathy piece, which was something that was so needed at the end of March and beginning of April in 2020, and still needed, right? But the idea that I wanted to do something like that, I wanted to be live on air, help people in the moment, and have that help multiple people. Because even though when he was on a live and I wasn't asking my question, other people were. And when people asked their question, his answers helped me. And I knew that there was opportunity there, both because I'm not a professional video producer. So post-production is not something that was going to be in the cards. I've been getting better with it over a year of like dabbling with iMovie and some of the phone apps and that sort of thing. And Canva's awesome. And I've been able to do some things there, but I was not skilled at post-production. So I wanted to do a live show. And so business development, Biz Dev, from the lips of Gary Vaynerchuk, Biz Dev Live, let's go.
Makes total sense. Total sense. And as I've gone through and I've watched a lot of the episodes, I can see it. I can see how it all connects together. And, and those are the kinds of things I like anyways. It's a natural fit for me, because I look at it as it's always about improving and getting better. And in the technology world that we're in, like, it drives you. You don't even drive that process. Technology changes. Like, I got a computer yesterday. It's old news. It's just technology drives itself, so to speak. So I've
been tweaking all along, adding components. When I started, I think I was basically off of the computer. I had a iMac 27-inch from 2011. So think about that. I had a computer from when I started the business in 2011. I had not upgraded that computer. I had some other computers around the office, but that was my main computer, the big screen. I had my multi-screen piece going on the desk. And I was struggling at a certain point in 2020, I think around May, I was like, all right, something's got, like half of the screen is dark because the light bulb's going out. I brought it over to, the repair places, and they're saying it's going to cost as much to repair it as to, so I I did upgrade my setup. I got a fancier webcam. I got a fancier microphone. And then I was still having trouble. I was going online. I was like, why is, I'd be on there with StreamYard. I'd be like, why is Joe coming through crystal clear? And why is my feed, the host, coming in and it's all grainy and washed out? So I had, you just learn things. I didn't know anything about download speed versus upload speed. So I was looking at download speed. I had like 200 megabits of download speed. Everybody could do Netflix and all that. No issues in the house. I'm hardlined in. Finally, I realized, all right, let me look at my upload speed because I understand, I sort of got it from a technical perspective that StreamYard is hosting everything. So Joe's feed doesn't have anything to do with my setup in my home, right? So it's right. All hosted in the cloud. So I was like, oh, it's got to be something on my end. And so I looked at the upload speed and I had less than 1 megabit of upload speed. So no wonder, right? But I know I've lost people that, are watching this and like, what, but you learn this stuff as you're doing the technical piece. And so my contract with Opt Online was that, a minimum of like 20 or so megabyte. I had less than 1. So it was a whole thing. They came out to the house. They couldn't fix it right away. I had to go to the polls. It was a whole process, but finally we got it done. And now my visuals are a little bit crisper. And if you go back to the early Biz Dev videos, it's grainy as F and it looks crazy. But the big thing was I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to commit to this. It's non-negotiable every day at 11 a.m. I know where I'm trying to go with this. I know what I'm trying to build with this. And so whether it was dealing with Opt Online or figuring out the technology, updating the computer, it was just like, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to make it happen.
Well, and look, you've done it. The reality is that you're hosting a show every day. I mean, you're on TV more than you're on the screen more than anybody watches TV. So you're there all the time, which honestly is hard to do. I mean, look, I've seen some of the different episodes from you're covering topics all over the place, from this morning sell through email to networking to management to managing your time, I should say. I mean, you even covered something on the up and down desk, which as someone who has an up and down desk, it's the greatest thing in the world. So, I guess my question is that how do you choose the topics? Because every day is a lot of work. So how do you choose the topics?
Well, for anybody that's starting on this journey, right, you want to create social media content. I think that's one of the biggest things that you want to tackle right away. You want to be consistent. You want to make sure that you're posting every day or that you're doing, whether it's, getting on something like later.com where you can post a certain amount of days for free. With the paid version, you can do video, there's different options. I suggest any kind of app software that you're going to purchase, try the freemium version, the free version, and then upgrade if you're going to use it. I did that with Canva. I did that with later.com with so many different pieces. I found the things that worked for me because there's lots of different things out there. But the most difficult thing is making sure that you have something to talk about. And, I'll have guests that, I had guests that canceled for actually today. I had a guest lined up weeks in advance for today, and they actually canceled on me yesterday because they said they had a paid event. And, that's just the reality of the situation. How do I actually come up with a topic when that happens? The best way is to have spent some time thinking through it and building some topics out. So in the very beginning, I literally sat there with a notebook and did 50 different topics. And the first time I did it, it was a little bit challenging because I was putting in there like, oh, I'll get Joe Gilderson to do the AV thing and I'll get this. That's not exactly how it works. That's not easy to set up in advance or set up last minute, which is usually the case, right? So getting topics that I could talk about myself. So being realistic in how I was setting things up. So what are things that fit within my core competency, things that I know about. And then over time, it's just gotten easier because I will literally use an email that I got this morning to be the inspiration for the show. There's inspiration all around you.
Topic just by accident, right?
I mean, it's purposeful, it's intentional because, I'm trying to do certain things like YouTube thumbnail and keywords. So, as I'm setting up the thing to save work, I'm trying to get those things in place before I go live and not try to do things afterwards. And from putting things up on the social networks, trying to put like a YouTube thumbnail on the Facebook video because you're streaming also to Facebook is very challenging. One of the things that I've learned through the StreamYard process, this might be helpful to you, but also helpful to others. I use that same YouTube thumbnail that I use to create the show and put it at the front of the video so that when it's going to other platforms, that's the first thing they see and not some moment of me going, right? Because if you just do a video, it just captures whatever that first moment is, or maybe captures a random moment in the video. So what people see on Facebook, they don't see like the image, the YouTube thumbnail is you. They see you, right? I'm confusing everybody. Like, oh, is my screen frozen? What's going on? But that's what you see. So, getting little pieces like that, I've added to it. You were talking about the theme song. So I went to Fiverr.com. I knew that Gary Vee had a great sound and stuff going on with his thing. I listened to a podcast called Robin Hood Snacks Daily, great financial podcast that I highly recommend to your audience. They'll enjoy it. They have a great hip hop theme song that actually goes through like the financial things that they have to mention. So they turn that into like a hip hop, so I borrowed from giants, Joe. I just borrowed from all the giants. I looked around and made sure that I got it. And then on the topic stuff, I'm an entrepreneur. You're in the business world. There are just literally so many different pieces of content around you. So if you just kind of open yourself up to it, there's plenty of content, but definitely in the beginning to get through the stress and the nausea and the challenge of it, write down the list and be really structured with it.
No, I think it's great because I know how much work it is, from all the different things that we do, I know how much work it is. When you put it together, I mean, again, that like I always think of our client's experience. So what does client experience come into it, like the audience, or are you thinking about them when you're choosing the topics? How does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest learning points, you mentioned it, I've gotten to 199 episodes with Biz Dev Live, and we have the Master Connection series with Steve Spiro on Fridays. And we have an incredible community there. On Tuesdays, I have this Biz Dev Live networking program. So these are people. Sometimes we think of like social media in numbers. So every person that subscribes to my YouTube channel, which I'm at 268 subscribers as of today. And it's for anybody that's like, listen, I have 199 episodes. For anybody that thinks that it's easy, yes, you can go viral. I've seen people with, 40,000 views on a video because they went through an operation. But unless you're getting a leg sewed off or, your breast reduction every other day, right? There's a limit on how many episodes you can just sort of highlight that and be of interest, right? So then it becomes, how are you actually interacting with your community? And so that's been the biggest takeaway really from the whole experience, is really serving the community, calling out the community, not taking anyone, not a single subscriber, not a single like, not a single comment for granted. And that's really turned into something. You can see it with the LinkedIn Live show that we have with Steve Spiro, the Master Connection series. We had 360 comments during the hour of live broadcast last Friday. We had 41 consecutive views. I mean, you see it. But that show, you can see what it's about. It's more about being in the comments than watching Steve or I. It's more about the community coming together than me. And so I am just simply the conduit of bringing people together. And so the sooner you realize that's what you are, like if you're a Friends episode, right? The reason that so many people are going to consume that content, yes, it's good. Yes, it's quality viewing. That you start with that, right? But it becomes a part of the zeitgeist. It becomes part of popular knowledge, so you can refer back to it. And so if you're able to create something that people can gather around and talk about and reference, that's when you know you have something that's really real. And I just enjoy, as much as you and I may know Gary Vee, there's a whole segment of the population that doesn't know Gary Vee.
Yeah.
And many people as I know, there is many more people that don't know me. So it's about retelling my story and building that community and getting the one-on-one time, which is a whole nother story in terms of what I've been able to do in terms of one-on-one networking, apart from all of the media and networking events that I'm going to. I'm spending a lot of time one-on-one with people, which I think also is something maybe people aren't thinking about in terms of their social media journey. I'm building community sometimes, many times, one-on-one with people, at least 6 people a week.
Oh, well, that's in this time period, that's really impressive, because a lot of people gave up on networking.
Right.
Like they thought they didn't have to do it anymore. I think I've made better connections, honestly, in the last year than I might have in the year before, because you seem to be more in tune to what you were doing, because you had to learn a new way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And
a lot less driving, right? A lot less commuting.
I mean, I know I don't miss the midnight, driving back from the city. So that I don't miss right this second. I'm feeling pretty good about that part. But listen, I mean, you're a true entrepreneur, and I love your ideas, and I love seeing them put into action, because the reality is actions speaks much louder than words, right? The old saying holds true.
Yeah.
But I know, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I know you need to motivate yourself. Like there's nobody else that's there, kind of kicking your ass around. So how do you get yourself motivated to do this every day? I know it's a challenge. So
it's a great question. And this week, just for everybody that might get value from this, I've been down with a serious case of the Mondays since Monday. And we're for anybody that's watching this later, it's Wednesday. So I've been in that Monday funk all week. Maybe it's something about, you're approaching a big birthday. I'm very excited about the fact that I'm going to be doing the 200th episode tomorrow. But, there's been a lot of excitement in the journey, and maybe I don't know, maybe there's something about, am I where I want to be? You get to, that big plateau, birthday, 40, 50, and you're like, oh, am I where I want to be in life? And maybe there's some of that going on. I don't know what it is. Maybe I just, not eating healthy enough. Maybe I'm not sleeping well enough. I talk about positivity a lot. I psych myself up and I show up because I know what the goal is. I know what I'm trying to do. And I thank you so much. At the beginning of this, you talked about my mission to really provide opportunity and education. And I sometimes sort of stray away from saying like worldwide, but if I can reach children in India and China and Russia and Africa and Europe and South America and the far reaches of the North cold wilderness, and bring opportunity and education to every single man, woman, and child, that is my dream, to make sure that every person feels like the doors of opportunity are open to them and that there is access to education, so that whenever possible, whenever somebody feels like they don't want to take the hard way, that the easy route is available. They can, we have more access to information than ever before. So yes, we had a pandemic in 2020 and 2021. However, 100 years ago, you didn't have Zoom. You didn't have a cell phone that you could literally connect just about anywhere in the world with. There's such a tremendous opportunity. So just getting that to everybody and making it a reality for everybody is a big dream of mine. And that's really the end all be all goal. And that excites me.
Well, I think that's it, I mean, because we all go through those Mondays like you're talking about. There's always ups and downs. Right. I think it's been magnified, of course, in the last year. I don't think there's any question about that. Especially for the
people have been through amazingly tough situations, amazingly, incredibly tough situations. We've had deaths in our community. Absolutely. You're watching videos of our frontline workers, the nurses that are just, basically dealing with these ICUs that it's not positive. Everybody's overworked. It's a very challenging. And then folks in the event industry, our industry, you hear it on every single large networking call. I was laid off. I was, I'm looking for, I'm happy to get this, but this is the situation. It's all over the place. Absolutely.
No, you're right. And so that's why I think, trying to find out how people stay motivated becomes a critical thing. And I think you're right on point with, kind of keeping your eye on the prize and keeping that dream right here so that, you can, because some days are harder than others. You just got to get up and keep fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality, right? But no, I appreciate everything you're saying about, about the journey, because it has been a journey. I think that I've learned more in the last year than I probably learned in 3 or 4 prior to that. And
absolutely,
it's exciting to learn different parts of our own kind of business. I mean, some parts we stayed away from in the past because we had clients that did that kind of work, and we didn't want to, ruffle any feathers, step on any toes, because there's a camaraderie in this industry that doesn't exist everywhere else. But in the last year, there's been no choice. Somebody needs to do the work. And, so we entered different design and graphics and video production full steam, because we always dabbled in it.
Yeah.
But the past year has been full steam. And, even just running this program, right? We got to put our money where our mouth is. I mean, we're telling people how to do these things every day, so we got to step up and do it.
Absolutely. I love the show versus tell. And if you allow me to say it, Joe, more than ever, AV services, right? For events, the recording, the quality production that goes into actually capturing stuff. In terms of entrepreneurship, if you're a business and you're not including money in your budget line, the same for insurance, for capital investment. I had so many errors I made when I started up Toth Event Staffing. I thought about profit, but I didn't think about the actual growth of the business. What money was I saving to build the building or build to buy the vehicle? If you're not thinking about the gifts that you're going to send your customers, if you're not thinking about the media that you're going to put into place to record what you're doing, how you're doing it, right? Both for front of the house and back of the house, so that you can train your teams, and also so that you can send your message, your production out to the world and reuse it and repurpose that content. If you're not recording your sessions, these amazing sessions where people are dropping knowledge, you have such amazing people in the room. If you're not using the knowledge in the room and providing diverse, engaging pieces and really coordinating with your AV team so you can capture it all, you're going to miss the moment. You're not going to get it onto YouTube or these other channels where it can actually create other revenue lines for you. It's such a huge missed opportunity. You got to include this stuff in your budget. You got to include the photographer. You got to include the videographer. You got to include the production team so that you can capture all of the amazing value that you're putting into your events, into your products, into your services.
No, you're right on point. And that's typically missed. And the reality is you shouldn't. This digital format gives you opportunities that you never would have had before. It just didn't exist. Now you take that material and you reuse it 10 times, and it lives forever. I mean, that's the thing. And then people find you. And, so as we've gone through, we work with a lot of nonprofits. I'm sure that you know that. And, we keep reminding them, you're going to have this phenomenal video, but it's not just that video. You have 60 minutes of professional material that you can use for years. I mean, it's the reality. Take it in pieces.
Yeah.
Just think about where it applies. Like, there's so much you can do. But I don't want to go on a tangent. I mean, you brought up video production. I got excited there for a minute.
Well, and shout out to Moselle, who's saying she loves the closed captioning. So, that's something that I know I've been challenged. Good on you. We got to talk about how you do that. That's amazing. But all of these production pieces, right, that go into it, that allows equity, right? Allows equality of service to all of the different stakeholders and audience that you bring to the table. These are things that, you know, were incredibly difficult before, and they're getting easier. So why not use them? Why not include them in what you're planning for the future? I love that.
No, it's brilliant. You know, it's funny because I was involved in a presentation last week for the Hudson Valley Economic Development Corp. That's a lot. That's a lot of letters right there. But I really had to struggle through to remember that. You know, the ginkgo biloba is really helping me these days. But one of the key points, we were talking about why virtual events are not only successful, but why they're going to stay around. Because I know everybody has mixed feelings on that, but certain events apply very much to this virtual realm. But one of the big things, and I think it's overlooked all the time, I'm going off a little bit of a tangent, is accessibility. So just what you're saying, and one of the reasons we have the closed caption, is because there's a fairly big percentage of the population that could have been in your audience that probably couldn't attend for whatever the reason. There's a physical disability, a learning disability, mental disability. A lot of people have access to the virtual event experience now that never did before. Think of your events with your staffing, and you're going into one of those Manhattan lofts. You know, like, how is someone who has a handicap supposed to enter that space? I mean, we can't even get the equipment in there. We literally have to carry.
Or how is somebody?
How the hell are they going to get in there?
You know, maybe it's a company party, maybe it's a mixer, and somebody from, you know, another continent wants to attend. And how realistic is it for them to travel for a 2-hour thing in Manhattan? But maybe that's going to be incredibly important to their business. And maybe it's incredibly important to all of the businesses in that New York loft. So how do you smash those worlds together and provide that access? I think, you know, the days of anything being secret or off the record with everybody that has a cell phone in their pocket. Every event is a hybrid event, whether you like it or not. So you get to choose whether you want to be a part of the conversation, whether you want to direct the conversation, whether you want to actually put some branding and some actual class and dynamic to the situation. And so I think it's incredibly important to think about every single event that way, one way or another, because whether you're broadcasting it live or somebody else is, it's going to be out there.
No, you're right.
I love what Moselle is saying. Closed caption should be on a checklist for considerations when planning an exclusive event. Yeah, I love it.
I mean, look, Moselle's right. You know, that's why she's a professional event planner, because she knows these things. We worked with Moselle over the years. I mean, literally for at least 20 years. Like, we've gone back a long way, but she's a professional. You know, and there's still
great. Moselle was actually, just before the pandemic, she secured me office space in the Chrysler building. I'd been working a couple blocks down from Grand Central so that I could be close to Grand Central. Train station's right. I live in Valhalla. So in order to interview people in the city, I wanted an office that's close to Grand Central. And thanks to Moselle, she got me, instead of a couple blocks away from Grand Central, in the Chrysler building right across the street. You could literally go in the tunnel underneath the street and never have to walk out on the street on a snowy, rainy day. And I was in the Chrysler building, which I was just over the moon about. So thanks to Moselle for that. And we'll be back probably in the Chrysler building once things get back to business here in the third and fourth quarter of the year for Toth Event Staffing.
Yeah, well, you know, that actually, it caused me to think about, you know, what does the future hold for you? You know, I mean, are you going to continue with Toth Event Staffing? Are you going to continue with Biz Dev Live? Are you doing both? I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
So I wish I read Mike Lee Gruber's The E-Myth Revisited 10 years ago, but I have read it over the last couple of years and reread it and tried to recommend it to as many people as possible. But it talks about documenting your systems and processes. So what I'm going to be doing is trying to practice what I preach with Toth Event Staffing, although there'll be a lot of, I'm sure, scrambling and ramp up and just the hard work of entrepreneurship and the fact that I will be doing a lot of double duty. Toth Event Staffing will be amazing. It'll continue to bring me revenue as a company. My focus will shift for my personal day-to-day to Biz Dev Live and all of the business development and partnership opportunities that business will create for me and for others. And Toth Event Staffing will be run by great managers that I bring in that understand the systems and processes and culture that we're trying to build there. And so, I will do what I tell other people to do, make sure that you are documenting your systems and processes and making sure that you can create turnkey systems. If you are irreplaceable in your business, you haven't built a business, you've built a job. And so I don't want a job. I want to wake up and I want to be alive and be present for myself. And that's what Biz Dev Live is. I'm really excited about providing opportunity and education to people. Like I said, with Toth Event Staffing, the most exciting piece of the last 10 years has been doing that kind of career mentorship, telling a woman, hey, you make sure you negotiate for your salary. She's got to have an accounting school. She's a bartender, amazing bartender. Make sure you negotiate. Make sure you don't take that first opportunity that comes. Make sure that you're applying to different places. The same advice that we give to high school students to seek out their college. Same thing for this woman looking for an accounting role. And I love getting that phone call that says, I negotiated my salary. I'm really happy where I am. So I'm looking forward to have lots more of those conversations and take part and ownership of other companies on the biz dev side so that I can provide opportunity to many people so that when somebody calls me and they're looking for an internship, because Joe Gilderson has given me 10% of his company to be the media and biz dev side of his company. I call Joe and I say, listen, I got this guy that's really interested in tech and doing streaming and getting involved in events, give him a shadowing role. And Joe's going to say, of course, right? Because that's my business partner and he respects me. He loves what I do, knows that I promote him every day. And so we have that relationship. So that's the future for me. I don't really want to, work for a fee. I want to take a stake in a company and grow that company because I want to wake up for me and grow and provide opportunities to other people. Well,
you've given everything a lot of thought. I can't tell you, this has been great. I mean, I knew you were going to be good.
Joe, the tie is sure is going to disappear.
And you must have a lot of pink ties. That's all I can think too. I mean, it's got to be like the whole closet is pink ties.
I have more than a couple. Yeah, I definitely have more than a couple. And, we'll probably be adding some different textures and styles as we go here.
Well, listen, it's been great. I appreciate all the time today. I know I told you 30 minutes and now we're like, 45 minutes or something, but
my pleasure.
But I appreciate you really. I think you're doing great work. The fact that you made that change, and you did it not only because you had to do it, but you did it for a reason. And that passion is really fueling, the motivation to keep going forward. I think is tremendous. And we're right here to support you. We're going to ride your coattails. This is great. Yeah.
Moselle was like, thanks for keeping me busy. Thanks for keeping me busy. I appreciate it. Everybody that, likes and follows and is a part of the community. I was talking to a guy this morning, one person that commented on it and I called them back on their cell phone and gave them a half an hour of my time talking about how they can do a better sales thing. Because I'm just so appreciative of it. I'm just so excited to be able to provide knowledge. I'm happy that I have knowledge to give, and I'm so excited to actually participate and engage with people. And I'm excited to do it at scale. That's what we're building to, and you can't do that without a community. You can't do that without people that know you and support you and love you and give to you. So you don't build that without doing it yourself. So I definitely try to lead by example, and I'm really appreciative when it's reciprocated and try to go the extra distance to show how much I love and care for that.
Well, it's great. I think the 19-year-old Cameron would be blown away by this version, So I think you're doing, you're practicing what you're preaching, you're doing the hard work, and I know you're going to have great success. So listen, thanks for joining us today on AVX Live. This has been great.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me.
We'll catch up to you soon, Cameron.
Take it easy.
Wow, that was amazing. I mean, so much more. Look, I dragged everybody out here for another 20 minutes. I apologize. But when you have good material, right? Cameron's talking about generating content. We're generating content. You're learning. We're going to be able to share with the community. So I'll just recap a little bit today. One of Cameron's tips about finding your passion. I mean, that's really driving and fueling him. And I know we use the same kind of motivation when we ran, into our big obstacles last year. And it helps keep everybody on the same page. That's how you're going to motivate yourself. And I think that's pretty important. I'm going to skip ahead to a couple of Cameron's other tips. Borrowing from giants, you don't have to, recreate the wheel every day. Okay. There's so much you can learn from others. So borrow from giants, like the man says. I think it's right on point. If you do get into this side of the world, on the broadcasting side, I think Cameron's got a million ways he can help you out. Check him out every day. Biz Dev Live, 11 a.m. You'll see the many other channels that he's on and the other pieces he's involved in. And then, I think I'm going to leave you with the last point from Cameron is use that dream, right? Use that dream to keep you motivated. We all need a little extra motivation sometimes. I know everybody's locked in their house. Some people are going crazy. They're getting a little stir crazy. I know I'm one of them. So just keep your eye on the prize, and keep that dream in the front of your head so that you can really stay motivated. And listen, I'm gonna let everybody go at this point. This has been phenomenal. We appreciate your time. We're going to be on next Wednesday at 1. Looking forward to seeing everyone.